Like the intro said, you know who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Today I've got Patrick Queally with us. Patrick Queally is by far one of the greatest freaking loan officers I've ever known in my life. I've been blessed to be able to work with this man for quite some time, but even better than that, I can actually call him friend. I can always count on Patrick Queally. Patrick Queally's always there when you call, when you email, when you text. I can send smoke signals while the Northeast is 12 foot underwater, and Patrick Queally's always there for me, just like he's always there for his customers. You know who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Patrick Queally. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Johnny. Now I got to live up to that introduction. Thank you.
I have no issue with you living up to it. I know you will. I've known you for quite some time. You're one of the greatest guys I've ever known in this business. You're one of the most diverse guys that I've ever known in this business. There are very few people that I've ever known that have the vast experience that you have in this business. One of my biggest complaints about our business that we're in is the guys that are in the mortgage business that don't even know the mortgage business. So I know for a fact you've been on at least both sides, the production side and the operations side. I do know that you're an underwriter still, that you have those qualifications, but you decide to be on the purchase side, you decide to be on the borrower's side, which is awesome for us, which is awesome for the community. But I do know that you're better than most of your peers, and that's one of the reasons why I think you're a freaking awesome loan officer.
Yeah, well, thanks, Johnny. So that's right. I spent almost the first 10 years of my career on the back office doing processing and underwriting, and got a great background, well-rounded in residential, as well as a little bit of commercial real estate as well, underwriting. And after about 10 years of that, I decided to make a shift over to the dark side and wanted to start originating. And I think that's part of what I guess makes me dangerous as a loan officer, that I understand the underwriting guidelines. I don't always necessarily agree with them, but I understand the way it's written, what the spirit of it is, what the intention is. And, it just helps me, do a better job for my clients going in up front, knowing what the guidelines are, taking a look at their financials, and knowing how we can structure a deal that'll sail through underwriting and get to the closing table, rather than just, throw it against the wall and see what sticks, the way I see a lot of other loan officers do.
It's an awesome response. Now, sitting in the seat you're sitting in right now, just a few minutes ago I heard you say the dark side. So which side is the dark side now?
I'm sorry, what's that, Johnny?
So which side is the dark side now?
Yeah, well, I think you got fingers pointing in both directions. So I think that the origination staff will point to underwriting as being the dark side, the one that holds the big thumbs up or thumbs down. And I think that the operations side really points to, sort of the loose and easy way that some loan officers conduct themselves.
Well, I think you still have some underwriter in your blood.
Just a little bit.
All right, so let's get started into this. I know part of the answers to this one, but I want to hear it from you. What makes you stand out from the other loan officers in your area, in your state, in your groups? I think I know what part of it is, but I want to hear it from your perspective.
Sure. Well, like we talked about a little bit earlier, I think it's the underwriting background, having knowledge of how deals are supposed to look at the end of the day. Sort of that I think it's a Stephen Covey quote, start with the end in mind. So once you know what the end package is supposed to look like, you sort of work backwards, and you're looking at the financials that the borrower gives you. And, I'm not looking for problems per se, but it helps me identify, the background I have on the underwriting side helps me identify the red flags and the hurdles and things that are going to need to be addressed. And it's sort of, answer the question before the underwriter has a chance to ask it. Put together a good package. Having spent a long time in processing and underwriting, I know that job is not easy. And the more that we can do up front to package the deal, explain what's going on, put together a solid package so that we can put it in front of our underwriter and make their job as easy as possible, rather than making them try and guess and try and connect the dots as to what's going on, present a full package. And I just see so many other loan officers out there that just don't have the ability to do that. And I guess for me, that's not necessarily such a bad thing. I'll say probably, give or take 15% of my annual volume comes from loans that have fallen apart with other lenders that just didn't know how to structure it. Loan officer didn't know how to do their job properly. So, I don't want to come off sounding, pompous or high and mighty about it, but having that background, having spent about 10 years in operations and processing and underwriting, certainly makes me a much better loan officer.
I will agree with that completely. You personally would be a much better loan officer than I ever would have been. I may be able to outsell you, but I could never out-knowledge you.
Yeah, definitely, a touch of the type A personality, as for all that paperwork and put it all together right from day one.
All right. What technology do you love using that has been provided by Hancock Mortgage Partners?
Well, there are a number of different things. And what I think is great about Hancock is it's sort of an a la carte menu. You're not forced to use any one particular technology. The whole suite of products are put out in front of you. And of course, you're encouraged to use them because they can all help with your success. We've got, Media Center, which is now rebranded to Usurpa, I think is what it's called. And that's, your basic CRM. The emails go out, sort of a set it and forget it. But what a really cool feature that's come out that is one of your, brainchilds, Johnny, is the perpetual machine, where we can upload, contacts and really set it and forget it. And just like the name says, perpetual machine, it'll go on forever until we tell it to stop. And we just keep feeding the data in, and the contacts go out, and deals roll in as a result. So Usurpa and I think Media Center are the two big ones. But what's great about Hancock is with all the other loan officers that are here, we all talk to each other and help each other. There's really no sense of, it's not an air of competition. It's really, hey, I'm using this technology and this piece works for me and this is how I use it. What do you think? Do you think you could, take it and use it, or maybe you can tweak it and teach me something on the back end after you use it?
Just so you know, we've interviewed a few people today. This is going to continue on, but what you just said is a common theme, a common saying as this goes on, is being able to rely on the Hancock family, being able to rely on all of your fellow coworkers, no matter where they're at in the country, being able to rely on them for help, for training, for ideas. That's been a common thing.
Absolutely. Now, Johnny, it's been a while since you've been, boots on the ground originating files. But I'll tell you, as, the rank and file loan officer here, having the support of the other loan officers and reaching out to them and getting answers, not just sort of the technical, this is what the underwriting guidelines say. It's more the loan officer interpretation. This is how you put it together. This is how it really works, So it's sort of, I make the analogy of, auto mechanics. Now, I'm not a car guy. I know you are, Johnny. I'm not, okay? But the analogy with auto mechanics is, you can read all of the user manuals, all of the, repair manuals, but man, you don't know jack until you got the hood open and you got a wrench in your hand. Okay. You got to get knee deep into it to really understand it. And that's what I rely on the other loan officers for. It's sure you can read and interpret the underwriting guidelines, but how does it really work? I put this file in, is it really going to happen?
Now that's a great point. Great point. All right. What changes are you going to do to increase leads for not only yourself, for your referral partners, your realtors in the upcoming quarter, in the upcoming year?
Yeah, so I'm real excited about this. I'm fired up about it. Putting together a series of classes for social media called Modern Marketing. Where we've dubbed it the secret sauce. So it's the tools and tips and strategies based on the changes to the social media algorithms for 2018. If for those guys and gals that haven't been paying attention, it's all different now. Some of the changes have been announced by Facebook, so people that are paying attention are clued in a little bit, but still maybe not have all the pieces of the puzzle put together as to how to use it to their advantage. So I'm fired up, have outlines of classes, starting to schedule them, going to get together, with, a group of real estate agents, anywhere, 15 to 20 agents in a room at a time is what I'm looking for. And, I know this stuff and I'm using it and it's generating leads, but I'm just one guy. There's only so much I can do on my own. There's only so many hours in the day. So if I can put together a group of other real estate agents and insurance agents as well, and closing attorneys, so I'm not just limiting the class just to the real estate agents, it's really all of my referral partners, okay? And showing them and teaching them how to use the new algorithms for social media and using that to generate leads. Well, it's sort of the reciprocity mindset there. If I'm helping them do that, and then they're taking that and then they're generating business, well, I'm just hopeful that they're going to look back and say, well, hey, Patrick showed me how to do this. I generated business from it. Patrick should get first shot at providing the financing for these new clients I found using the tools he showed me, how to use.
Agree. This is one thing where you and I are exactly on the same page. I spend a tremendous amount of time, energy, effort, and money to learn what is in today's age. And it's something that's extremely important to me. I know it's extremely important to you. So I give you kudos on that for taking that out to the market, for bringing that to people who may not have the benefits that you and I do, of knowing where to go find this information. You let me know if you want me there. I'll be there for your kickoff class, and I'll help you train and teach anybody at any time.
I know you will. That's why I'm waiting another, couple of weeks before I schedule it. I don't want your Texas mindset just to freeze when you get up here.
Beyond, because I've seen the weather you guys are having, and I don't think I would make it out of Logan.
Another snowstorm scheduled for later this week, pal.
Jeez.
Bring your shovel.
So take off your operations hat, put on your loan officer hat.
Okay.
What do you love most about being a loan officer?
It's going to sound corny. It's going to sound cheesy, but really, I enjoy working with first-time home buyers. It's such a, rewarding experience. See, I attend the vast majority of my closings, especially for first-time home buyers. And, at the closing, there's really nothing for me to do. I'm just there, more for moral support, if you will. But at the end of the transaction, after all the papers have been signed, seeing the keys get passed over to the buyers and they're holding the keys to their new home for the first time, that's just really cool. It's cool to be in the room to see that, and just the look of, relief and happiness and joy on their faces. That's cool. I enjoy doing that.
I am with you 1,000% on that one. That's the whole reason I got into this business in 1994. I was a first-time home financer in 1994 and had a really bad experience. And that was one of the reasons why I got into this business, is because I thought others deserved better.
Sure.
All right. Do you have any tips, any advice to help other LOs? They may be in your community, they may be across the nation, they may be in your same building. What tips and advice would you give to other LOs?
Yeah, I suppose I'll give two, one on each side of the coin. So for operations, obviously you'd have to clear it with your company, but you should absolutely spend as much time as you can afford to do, sitting with your loan processor. Shadow your processor. Shadow your underwriter. Now, of course, your company's going to have to be cool with that and take you off the production lines. But again, having spent, close to 10 years in the back office, that experience is invaluable. Knowing what they go through and what they have to do and the extra steps they have to, go through to put together a file that maybe hasn't been assembled very well, but just the routine things they have to do, even on a file that is well put together, is going to help the loan officer put it into perspective. It's going to bring you a long way in a short period of time, understanding what the back office actually does. Okay, so that's from an operations standpoint. From a sales standpoint, something that I learned pretty early on in my career when I made the shift over from the back office to originating is build your database. Okay, take down those names, those emails, those phone numbers. That's your entire career. That's your business. More than 80% of my business year over year is repeat clients and their referrals. So my database is a gold mine. I know that. In other lines of work, it could be called an annuity. Okay, so you got to treat them right, pour the love on them, take care of them, reach out to them, not just when rates are low or when you think that there's a transaction at hand. Reach out to them periodically. So I have clients that it's tough to reach out to everybody, but between phone calls and snail mail and emails, at Facebook, it's getting easier and easier to reach out to a number of clients. Stay in touch with your clients. Stay in front of them. The phrase that I use is, I just want to rent a couple of brain cells. I just want to be there. Not everyone is always going to need to purchase a house. Not everyone's going to need to refinance all the time. But when that time does come up in their lives, you want to make sure you're renting a couple of brain cells. So when that need comes up, you're the first name that comes to mind.
Agree. I want to add one piece to that, and I'd like to get your opinion on it. So in my opinion, you said to add your customers to your database. My opinion is everyone should be included in that database. Listing agents, sales agents, appraisers, title company, everybody should be in that database. What's your feelings?
Oh, 100%. Everybody I come across, from the guy that cuts my hair to the guy that cuts my lawn to basically for the loan officer that maybe is just starting out and struggling to build a database. Maybe they haven't closed very many loans, so they don't think they have a database. Easiest way to get started, just take a look at your checkbook. Who are you writing checks out to? They should know what you do. Reach out to them. Okay, so you're right. It's the service providers that you work with in the business, but also outside of the business. Everybody should know what you do. Now, there's a fine line. You don't want to be, too pushy about it and, handing out your business cards, in the back pew in church, trying to be pushy about it during services. It's a balancing act, but at the same point, everybody should know what you do. You can't, you don't want to be a secret agent. You want everyone to know what you're up to.
I agree. Approximately 70% of the people in this country are homeowners. You said the guy who cuts your hair, the guy who cuts your yard, whoever that is, everybody should know what you do. One of our biggest faults is not letting people know what we do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right. This one is extremely self-serving. This is not from me. This is actually from you guys in the field. So I want you to approach it that way. What do you love about working at Hancock Mortgage Partners?
It sounds kind of counterintuitive, okay? But it is the corporate backing of having processing and underwriting and everything that most people would associate with working for a company, okay? But it's also the independence. Look, I'm in my branch in Massachusetts, however the hell many miles away from Sugar Land, Texas, and you guys don't screw with me. You just let me do my thing. You're not breathing down my neck. You're not saying you got to hit this number, you got to hit that number. Sure, I'm going to have off months, and I'm going to have fantastic months, okay? And it is a business, and it needs to be profitable, but the way that I run my practice is different than some of the other branch managers. And there's no one route to success. What I'm comfortable doing is not what someone in Texas is going to be comfortable doing, and vice versa. But, the company is smart enough to realize that there are a number of different ways to success. And some of it is just regional differences. So what works in Texas, even if I wanted to do it in Boston, might not work. So you guys just sort of, I guess, leave me alone, let me do my thing, and it's successful and it works. But at the same point, in addition to just being, having that independence to do my own thing, when I do need help, when I do need support, need something from corporate, need help with whatever it is, it's a phone call away. And I'm not afraid to make that call.
I am in total agreement with you on that. My opinion is it would be completely counterintuitive for some guy sitting in Sugar Land, Texas, to tell somebody sitting in Boston, Massachusetts, who their customer is, how their marketing should go, what it should be. Even worse than that, in my opinion, and I don't know, we don't need to get off on this tangent, but there's a lot of companies that have what they call regionals.
Yep.
And even when you have a regional may be over an office that has 20 loan officers and also an office that has 2 loan officers. And you can't truly know what it's like to operate in there. And not only that, that regional may be covering all of New England. So that would be like me thinking that New Hampshire operates the same way that Bar Harbor, Maine operates. That would be the same way as thinking that Vermont and Massachusetts were interchangeable. And we know that's not accurate. So one of the reasons that we have that autonomy is because nobody knows your market, nobody knows your borrowers better than you do, especially somebody who's 2,000 miles away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the example here is what happened when I was at a company before I joined Hancock, which was just 180 degrees, just the complete opposite. So I was recruited by a company who told me that, they enjoyed my marketing. They like what I'm doing. They like what I'm doing to generate business. I have a good reputation in the marketplace. They'd like me to come work for them. So negotiations go back and forth. And finally, I agreed to come on board. And I was there for, I want to say about 48 hours. And they said, okay, great. You've done all these different things to be successful and to build a great business. Perfect. Now stop doing all of it and do it our way. And I just about crapped my pants. It was not what I thought I was walking into. So to the point, Hancock is the exact opposite. Okay, what are you doing to make you successful? What works in your marketplace? Great. Let's help you do more of it. That's the sense that I get from Hancock.
That's the way it is. All right. What is one obstacle that you had to overcome as a loan officer?
It may not come across this way, and you may not feel this way, Johnny, but, I started off in the business in the back office, processing and underwriting, the cubicle farm. Okay. I was not the typical outgoing, gregarious loan officer. So one of the things that I've worked hard to overcome, personally, is really just the sales aspect of it. Getting out in front of people, shaking hands, that old saying, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. So it's really just getting out in front of people and thinking of myself, really as a salesperson. And I still have a little bit of, trouble with that thought. Just the whole sales aspect of the business has never really been, I don't say my strong suit, or at least I don't feel it has been my strong suit. I'm more of, okay, well, let's put the paperwork together and let's try and figure out a way to get you to the finish line. More, I guess, a consult approach than a sales. Whereas many loan officers are, okay, well, don't worry about the details. We'll figure it out some way. I'm more of a details guy. Let's figure it out up front and make sure we can get you to the finish line before we start investing a lot of time and money and energy in something that may not work out. So I think really overcoming some of the, I guess, sales reluctance, I don't know if that's the right word, is something that I've struggled with in my career. And again, it's the double-edged sword. having come from the processing and underwriting background certainly gives me that experience to be confident. And that's really what I've built my confidence on, knowing the ins and outs of the underwriting guidelines and what can and can't be done.
Well,
that helps answer the question.
it does, but I will add to it. One of the things that I know for a fact, and I've actually, a lot of people haven't had this benefit, but I've had the benefit of sitting inside of some of your closings with you on my last visit up there, is when Patrick Queally tells somebody that they're pre-approved, when Patrick Queally tells somebody they're approved, there's no question whether that's a fact or not. Patrick Queally takes care of his borrowers better than any of his competition in his area, in his state, than anyone else does, because he's got both sides of that spectrum. So no matter if Patrick Queally doesn't think that he has that sales ability, I trust Patrick Queally with my largest transaction every day of my life.
Oh, thank you, Johnny. Yeah, I mean, you see so many, bogus pre-approval or pre-qualification letters that are taken just over the phone without reviewing any paperwork or even looking at a credit report. And I know that just sounds insane, but I see it in the marketplace all the time. My point is, I'm not putting my name on that pre-qual letter unless I firmly believe I can take it to the closing table. It doesn't help anyone to write a letter just for the sake of writing a letter. It just, do you want a letter, or do you want to know that we can actually perform? That's sort of the question.
Agree. Awesome. All right. Did you always want to be a mortgage loan officer? If so, why? If not, what were you pursuing before you did this?
Oh, yeah, sure. Growing up, all my friends wanted to be cops and firemen, and I said, no, I'm going to be, I'm going to be a mortgage broker. I want to go in the mortgage business. No, Johnny, like everybody else in the business, we just sort of fell into it. I got a temp job at a bank while I was still in college, and ended up falling into the mortgage department there. And here we are, 25 years later, and I'm still in the business. So what were the other parts of the question? Oh yeah, if I wasn't a loan officer, what else did I want to do? Well, while I was in high school and starting off in college, I actually wanted to be an architect. I liked looking at, I suppose being in mortgage business somewhat related to, real estate and buildings. And I still, whenever I visit other cities, I'm interested in looking at the architecture in other parts of the country and other countries in the world. So if I wasn't a loan officer, yeah, I'd probably be an architect.
Awesome. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone looking to purchase their first home or their forever home?
One piece of advice. Well, I would say that know your numbers. Meet with your loan officer, provide your financials. I see it happen too many times that I have to be the bad guy. I don't like being the bad guy. And what I mean by being the bad guy is an individual or a couple just falls in love with the house, whether it be their dream home or their first home, and they place an offer on the house, and the real estate agent is someone that I've worked with before, and they introduce those consumers to me. I put together the numbers, and there's just no way in hell we can make those numbers work, and they can't afford to buy that home. And I get to be the bad guy and tell them, no, the numbers don't work. So the best advice I can give someone is don't put the cart before the horse. The right sequence is putting together the numbers, figure out what you can afford, and find a home that fits that budget, rather than finding the home and then figuring out a way to make the budget work, because it doesn't always work. So know your numbers first. I guess whether you're a first-time home buyer or buying your retirement home or anywhere in between, the same advice across the board. You got to know your numbers. Meet with your loan officer, let them review the financials, and let them tell you what that budget is going to be. And a lot of times there's a difference between what it says you can afford on paper and what you're comfortable paying. And a lot of times you end up somewhere in between. You find the right house, you stretch a little bit beyond what you thought you were comfortable with, but still well within your qualifying parameters, and we can put that deal together. I find that a lot with first-time home buyers.
Great advice. Now, here's something that everybody may not know about you.
Uh-oh.
So my understanding is, if I'm correct, is you have dual citizenship. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So you're Irish descent, which is probably not something that stands out in your
That's like
area.
90% of Boston. That's
But here's where I'm going with that. As I interview you today, and I'm looking around at your office, and I've been in your office, there are two things that stick out to me tremendously. I see the U.S. flag over your right shoulder,
yeah, we get that better view of it there.
and over your left shoulder, I see what I believe is a military mortgage boot camp shirt.
Yes, sir.
So this is my Bryant Gumbel moment
Okay.
to pull at your heartstrings. Tell me why those two are in the background.
Well, so to go back, what you say, question you asked me about dual citizenship, I think I'm fortunate in the sense that I was born here in the U.S. I was born in Boston, but I actually lived overseas. I lived in Ireland for a number of years. Both of my parents are from Ireland. I went to high school there, lived there for a number of years, and I spent most of my vacations as a kid, summers and some Christmas vacations over there. So I think I've got a little bit of a unique perspective in the sense of knowing what an awesome country the United States is, but I really have something to compare it to. Now, I'm not speaking anything negatively about Ireland.
Not at all.
But things are different there. It's a different experience. Okay, having lived overseas, you can appreciate more of not just the freedoms but the opportunities that the United States offers. Um, you know, in other countries, sometimes it's just not possible to find employment. Now, in the U.S., if you want to work, you can find a job. Okay, you may believe that job is beneath you. Maybe you don't want to sweep floors or flip burgers, but damn it, if you got a family to feed, you'll do whatever you have to feed them, and you'll take that job. But those type of opportunities just don't exist in every country. So it sort of gives me the a good feeling knowing that it truly is the land of opportunity. So that's the U.S. flag. And the military mortgage boot camp shirt that we have over here, really, one of the things that I'm proudest of is my growing knowledge. I've done a lot of them, and thanks to the support here with Hancock Mortgage, learning more and more and becoming more proficient in VA loans. Okay, so we have a group of loan officers. They're not all Hancock loan officers, but a number of them are across the country that are part of what's called Military Mortgage Boot Camp, where we get together and go through and understand and figure out ways through the VA loan program to help our veterans purchase and refinance real estate. It is a quite misunderstood loan product, but man, it's a great thing. So to be able to help the men and women in uniform that help defend the flag and our our freedoms and help them get into a house. We talked about earlier about first-time home buyers. Man, it's even better when that buyer's a veteran.
I agree with you more than you know. I'm a huge supporter of Military Mortgage Boot Camp. I actually sponsor a number of their events across the country. I think it's imperative that all of our people know what Military Mortgage Boot Camp is. I will tell you that it has made our VA production grow by 20% year over year. It is the best loan, not even arguably, it is the best loan product that there is in this nation as far as I'm concerned. And I am a huge believer that whoever earned that loan deserves that loan. And every loan officer across the country that is not putting a veteran into a VA loan should be. It's almost a disservice not to do that.
It's the standard question now on every first dialogue with a potential client. have you served in the military? You know, are you eligible for a VA loan? Did your spouse serve in the military? You know, there are questions you can ask to figure out. And you know, I guess a sad state of affairs that most of the professionals in the business just don't even ask that question.
Agree completely. I was fixing to nail you on that one. Have you or your spouse served in the military?
Yep, exactly.
Hey, Patrick, I appreciate you taking your time today. This is the reason why I say Patrick Queally is an awesome loan officer. Matter of fact, he's a freaking awesome loan officer. Patrick, I appreciate you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johnny. You know, we appreciate you. Thanks for all you do for us.
Have a great day.
You too.